Right then, so I'm in the process of building a desk, and this piece here is the top. It's a corner desk with a rather large angled section here. It's not just a right angle, it's about 45 degrees, then 45 degrees, and you can probably just make out the cut line here. And I want a nice finish along this edge. I'm not going to do it with a jigsaw, because even if I use a guide, it's still going to look a little bit rough. Definitely not going to do it with a handsaw. I think you've guessed by now what I am going to be using. Yep, I'm going to be using a router, and I've got something like a 12 or 13 millimeter diameter bit in the router, and that's what I'm going to be using to cut this out. And I'm going to be using this rounded edge of the router, and what I've done already is put the router in the position with where I want the cutter to cut, or the line that I want to cut it. And then what I've done, I've marked around the base and created another line. I've done this all the way along. It's 80 millimeters as a measurement, but what I've done is just used that all the way round on the line that I want to cut, made a mark, scribed it, and then what I'll do is use these pieces of timber that I've cut, and I'm going to screw those on something like that, and these will act as my guide for the router to run along. So let's get started by getting these battens screwed into position. Now this is the underside of the desk, so you're not actually going to see these screw holes once I take this batten off. So I've actually marked, or made the template, marked it opposite or upside down to how I actually want it. Because this desk is going to be just varnished. It's just going to be MDF and varnished. If you're wondering why I left these gaps in here, it actually doesn't matter, because you've got quite a big radius on the base of the router. It will just come along, hit the next batten, and you can go from there. So you don't need to worry about having those all the way together. I am going to go through this in 2 hits. I'm not going to go all the way through in one. It's a little bit dodgy with a hand router. So 2 hits is best. But the only issue with doing 2 hits is that you are very likely to see the line along that front edge. So what I will do is grab myself a piece of this plasticky kind of packaging. I'm going to cut a few strips of this and put it against my guide here. So it will actually make the top just a tiny bit bigger. So then once I've gone through the whole thickness and I can take this bit away, I'll remove my packaging. It will allow the router to cut just a little bit more off, and it should give me a really nice smooth edge. There we go, just like that. So as I say, I'm going to put that in there. I'll put a little bit of tape on it just to hold it in place. I've got the router set to half depth, I've got the extraction on, I've got my PPE, let's give it a go. Right, well that actually doesn't look too bad. You can't really see where I've gone down into depth. It's a little bit wonky, just in a couple of places, and that's probably down to this where it does squash a little bit. So what we'll do is take this off now. Like that. Put that over there. And then what we can do now is go round this again up against this softwood. Oh yes, just take a look at that edge now. That looks absolutely lovely.